Okay, I'm now going to talk about section 2 of the personal project report, which is planning. So the sub-question for section 2, or criterion B, is what criteria for the product outcome did you develop? Now, it's in this section that you need to copy and paste or print screen the criteria that you designed into your report. Now, you can either link it into the appendix and have it as one of your pages. However, if you can reduce its size and still legibly read what the information is, then that's fine to put it into the body of the report as well. You need to make sure that your specifications that you've included, and you can still refine your criteria now, even if you haven't finished it or you want to make it better. Make sure it's measurable, the achievements are attainable and realistic, and that in your criteria, it links to all the aspects of your goal. I'll give you an example. My goal was to research about rocking horses and recyclable woods. So in my criterion, I need to make sure that I've got a section on where I'm going to be demonstrating that research. The next part is going to be designing a sustainable rocking horse. Well, this is where my criteria that I design is going to talk about the actual rocking horse. What materials are going to be made out of? What is it going to look like? What's the function of it? And who's my target audience? And I'm obviously going to create rigorous, challenging and detailed criterion specifics to go into those sections, all right? The second part of my goal, though, says with applying information leaflets about sustainable toys. So I'm going to have a second part to my criteria, which is going to talk about layout and font in my leaflet, what language am I going to be using, and the information I've done in my research about sustainability that's going to go into there. So this will be detailed, highly detailed and subject-specific vocabulary linked to sustainability about how recycled or sustainable toys are benefiting our future. So really pay attention to whether or not you have within your criteria linked to the specifics of your goal. Going back then, make sure you may choose to edit, as I said, or you may choose to now rewrite some of your 7, 8 or your top level descriptors to make sure that they really precisely constitute what a high product or outcome is, because that's really what we were aiming for. Even if we don't make it, that's what we were aiming for. And again, feel free to annotate with text boxes to explain why you chose the different specification strands that you came up with. I chose this because I wanted to look at, whether or not my recipes were clearly laid out and communicated, or I chose this specification because it shows how and why you designed your criteria. B2 then. B2 is about the planning and the recording of the development process. This is the section where you are graded on your process journal. You are not graded on the full process journal. You select from your process journal the different extracts which demonstrate the development process. So it's almost like you're taking a trailer of a film and you're saying the process journal is the whole film, and I'm showing you in this section through a trailer the best bits and the most strategic moments in my planning and my development process. So you need to think carefully about which sections you're going to scan or include in your process journal to show the different things that you've done. You don't want to repeat the same thing. You want to have a variety. So it says here, include examples of action plans and timelines, to-do lists, and you can screenshot all of these into the appendix with clear headings and linked figures, as I mentioned in previous sections. So figure 1 shows an email. This demonstrates this process. And you need to select the extracts from your process journal that show the development. It can include notes that you took, feedback from your supervisor, any goal setting that you did, any photos or sketches, or the evolution of your designs. It really is up to you what you include there. And as I said, those would go into the appendix and can be referred to as C figures 1 to 6 in the appendix, which show 6 key aspects of my process journal, which demonstrates how I recorded my process. And these should, again, present detailed and accurate records of that development. This is a really important section because you've all worked so hard on your process journal, so it's about really getting the snapshots of what were the best bits in your process journal to show and demonstrate this aspect of the criterion. The final one then is how you demonstrate self-management skills. Now there's 3 aspects to self-management: organisation, affective skills, and reflection skills. So a really good report would link to these 3 things. In organisation, this is when you can include as screenshots or as further evidence within the report, how did you meet deadlines? How did you time manage? What tools and example parts of your process journal have you got which specifically show that you were a self-manager? Have you made lists? Have you wrote emails? Have you had meetings with your supervisors? These things provide specific evidence of organisation. And again, if you weren't particularly good at it, be reflective about it and say how and why you weren't. Secondly, affective skills really link into, how we feel and, the mental state of us, how we develop those parts. Now, you needed to be mindful if you've got a very sensitive topic. I'm sure we all had to show evidence of perseverance at times where the project seemed very overwhelming, or resilience to juggling a lot of, goals and actions at a time that was very busy. So you need to talk about some of these things and how you developed your affective skills. What did you do, and how have you got any evidence of this in your process journal, or could you just refer to anything that you've done that maybe you haven't written down. The last thing is reflection skills. Now, throughout your process journal, you are meant to be reflecting on the different choices, strengths and weaknesses, modifications. So, for example, if your goal changed, this would be a great part to put that information in, because reflection is a really great skill, and it really demonstrates self-management. So if you can talk about those 3 things or some of those things in this section with specific evidence, that would be really great. That concludes advice on how to write Section B of the Personal Project Report.